Brookville, Ohio. A village where life was intended to be simple, predictable, peaceful. That's all I ever wanted. A secure existence for my family, a home where my son, Adam, could grow up safe and nurtured. Yet life had a nasty sense of humor. That evening had been like any other. I had worked late, as usual. Payments didn't pay themselves, and someone had to keep things together. The house was quiet when I got in, the low hum of the refrigerator the only sound accompanying my tired footsteps. Claire was gone again, off with her parents on another one of their excursions. It had become regular at this point. She had always been closest to them, always more concerned with their acceptance than the family we had established together. Her mother, Mary, and her sister Rachel were the embodiment of perfection. Or at least, that's what they thought. Their expensive clothing, their flawless smiles, their picture-perfect life. And Claire had spent years trying to prove she belonged among them. I stopped caring a long time ago. Adam was the only thing that mattered. My child, 16, growing into a man with a mind sharp enough to take him wherever he wanted in life. He had goals, big ones, and I had promised myself that I'd do everything I could to help him reach them. He was more than just my son. He was my greatest friend, my purpose for moving forward, even when everything else felt like it was coming apart. That night, he was supposed to be home by now. Soccer practice generally ended at 7, and he was never late. But as the minutes stretched into an hour, discomfort seeped into my chest. I glanced at my phone, pondering calling him, but hesitated. He was accountable. Maybe he had stopped somewhere. Maybe he was with a friend. Still, something didn't feel right. I had never been the kind of father to hover, but this was different. There was a heaviness in my gut, an unshakable feeling that something was wrong. I tried to ignore it, tried to brush it off as just fatigue. But the silence of the home made it impossible, the kind of silence that pounds against your ribcage, making it hard to breathe. Then the phone rang. The sound shattered the stillness, making me jump. My heart hammered as I grabbed it, my hands abruptly clammy. "Hello?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Mr. Thompson?" The voice on the other end was quiet, too serene, a voice that belonged to someone who had said these things too. Many times before. "This is Officer Reynolds from the Brookville Police Department. Your son Adam has been in an accident. He's at Mercy General. You should come immediately." I froze. The words didn't make sense. What? I gasped. "No, there must be a mistake. My son was just at practice. I'm so sorry, sir." His voice remained level, practiced. "He got hit by a car while walking home. He's in critical condition." The room tilted. I grasped the counter to stabilize myself, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Critical condition. The words hit me like a physical blow, sucking the air from my lungs. My legs moved before my brain could fully absorb what was happening. I grabbed my keys, barely remembering to lock the door. Before I was in the car, my hands holding the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The trip to the hospital was a blur. I could barely see the road through the haze of worry clouding my mind. My baby. My boy was lying in some sterile hospital bed, fighting for his life. And I wasn't there. I had to get to him. I barely remember parking, barely recall bursting. Through the double doors of the emergency room, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I looked around desperately for someone, anyone, who could tell me where Adam was. "Adam Thompson," I managed to say as I approached the front desk. "My kid. He was brought in." The expression on the receptionist's face told me everything. She pointed down the hall. "Third floor, ICU." I ran. The world blurred as I moved, my heart beating against my ribs. I had never been a devout man, but in that moment, I prayed. Please let him be okay. Let me get there in time. The ICU was cooler than I expected. Too bright, too sterile. The beeping of machines filled the air, an unnatural rhythm that made my Stomach twist. And then I saw him, Adam. He lay on the hospital bed, immobile, tubes and wires connected to his body. His face, pale, too pale. His powerful, athletic frame looked small, vulnerable, engulfed by the blinding white linens. I barely recognized him. A nurse was speaking, but I couldn't hear her. My knees buckled and I clutched the railing of his bed to keep myself from collapsing. "Mr. Thompson." A doctor's voice came through the haze. I turned, my throat dry. How is he?" The doctor sighed. "Your son suffered significant trauma from the impact. We managed to stabilize him, but—" He hesitated. "But what?" "He's in a coma." The world stopped. A coma. The word didn't seem real. It was something that happened to other people. Not Adam. Not my son. Impatiently, as if she were discussing an overdue bill rather than her grandson's life, Mary said, "Andrew, I just need to know if he's gone yet, because if he is, Claire and I want to discuss the insurance payout." My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles turned white. I stared at Adam, his peaceful, unmoving face, as rage flooded through me like an unstoppable wave. She didn't ask how he was. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't even pretend to care. All she wanted was money. Something inside me snapped. "You're asking me about insurance while my son is fighting for his life?" My voice was deadly quiet, but the fury in it was unmistakable. "Well, Andrew, it's not like you have the resources to manage all this on your own. Claire is willing to help you navigate everything if there's a payout." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "That's real generous of her," I spat. "Funny, considering she hasn't even called to check on him or shown up or given a damn." Mary sighed again, as if my anger was an inconvenience to her. "Andrew, you're being emotional. This is simply realistic. I presume you have life insurance on him, correct?" I could barely see straight. My entire body trembled with barely restrained wrath, my free hand curling into a fist. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to keep calm. "Mary," I murmured, my voice oddly smooth. "If you ever call me again about money while my son is in a hospital bed, I promise to God I will make sure you never see a dollar. Not now, not ever." Silence. Then a sharp, clipped response. "You don't have to be rude, Andrew." I hung up. I didn't want to hear another word from her. I gazed at my phone, my chest heaving, my entire body tight with fury. My hands shook as I laid it down, trying to understand what had just transpired. I had always known Claire's family was selfish, but this was beyond anything I could have imagined. They saw Adam as nothing more than a number, a dollar amount. I glanced at my son, his face peaceful, ignorant of the sick truth about the people who were supposed to love him. I swallowed hard, my throat burning with suppressed wrath. "It's just you and me, kid," I muttered. Just us. I wasn't waiting for them anymore. I wasn't hoping for anything from Claire. I had spent years enabling her and her family to make me feel like I wasn't enough, like Adam and I were merely footnotes in their neatly groomed lives. No more. A knock on the door pulled me from my thoughts. I turned to see Mike standing there again, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," he said, stepping inside. I let out a breath, my shoulders sagging slightly. "You have no idea." He handed me the cup, then leaned against the wall, watching me. "You look like you just fought a war." I let out a humorless chuckle. I suppose I did. His expression darkened. "Claire?" "Worse," I mumbled. "Her mother." Mike whistled low. "Damn." "What did she say?" I hesitated, then groaned. "She asked whether Adam was dead yet." Mike froze. His grasp on his cup tightened. His jaw clenched so hard I feared he could break a tooth. "She what?" I nodded. "Yeah. Wanted to know about insurance. Set his coffee down so hard that some of it sloshed over the side. That woman is a monster. Okay, I said, exhaling. And I'm done. Mike observed me for a long minute, then nodded. Good. It's about time. We lapsed into silence, both sipping our coffee. The harshness of it grounded me. After a moment, Mike cleared his throat. So, what's next? I stared at Adam, his chest rising and falling in the same slow, steady rhythm. I wait, I said quietly. I stay here. And when he wakes up, because he will wake up, we move on, without them. Mike nodded. I like that plan. I did too. I had spent too long clinging to those who didn't care. But now, suddenly, I was choosing differently. For me, for Adam, for our future. One that didn't contain Claire, Mary, or anyone who had abandoned us. I reached for Adam's hand again, clutching it tightly. We're going to be okay, buddy, I whispered. I promise. And for the first time in a long time, I genuinely believed it.